People are either going to see it and believe it, or they're going to take it with a grain of salt. It's faith.
Well, they're going to do more than that. My neighbor is the best software animator. He is the guy that was hired to create Transformers.
As one of the elite animators working in Hollywood today, Patterson specializes in computer-generated imagery, also known as CGI.
I've been waiting for someone to say that, man, because I don't have the ability to do that myself.
I do.
Well, let's do it.
To be continued. To be continued.
And tell me what occurred out there was real.
What occurred out there was 150% wheelchair. Without a doubt.
There's no dead giveaways that it was for sure, Doc. I took this into Premiere and zoomed in as much as I could, and because it was so grainy, you couldn't really take a look at the individual pixels to see if that actual element sits in the frame correctly. Because you would need a very high-end compositor with, decades of experience to be able to make that really fit on a pixel-by-pixel level.
Right. But you can't definitively say, I know for sure this was doctored.
No, I cannot.
To say that was freaked out was an understatement. The feedback I got from them was, look, Craig, that house where the lights are going off, I don't think we'll actually take people into it because it's just a bit too scary. The whole point of people going on these ghost hunts and doing these types of things is to have that experience.
Right.
There was real paranormal stuff happening and it scared the crap out of them.
All right, we are back. And we're back with Chad Kalek, the director of Sir No Face, and Craig Powell, paranormal investigator, who captured the footage on Cockatoo Island in Australia. The documentary coming to Cleveland on Wednesday at the Agora Theater at 6 o'clock. We just saw the footage of the ghost. And so you had, and it was really scary.
Wow.
It was really...
I just watched it again.
Yeah.
That is freaky.
Yeah, I mean, it
like peeks its head out.
It's really
camera.
This is bizarre. I'll be honest with the fans listening right now.
A little bit.
Well, here's the thing. I've never believed in ghosts, and I'm still not sure. I still am not convinced I believe, but I'm a reader of people. I felt like in this business I am. I'm convinced that you guys are telling the truth, so I'm a little... if I thought you were lying to me, I feel like I would read that. But I sense, at the very least, you guys 100% believe it, 100% believe it, 100% believe it.
Every word I said is what I mean. Every word I said is what I mean.
I was incredibly excited to take the film out on tour, as we do with all our films. It's just a really cool way for our fans to see a sneak peek of the movie, for us to be able to shake their hands, thank them for their support, but most importantly to get feedback, and that's what I was most excited about. I knew in my heart that we had did everything we could to try to determine if Craig had faked this footage, and I firmly believed that he had not, that the Sir No Face footage was the real deal. But I expected a lot of blowback, which never really came, and I expected the blowback because when you come out and say, okay, I'm releasing a documentary that has this footage that definitively proves that ghosts exist, you would think there would be tons of people that would claim everything from you're just a flat-out liar to you're a snake oil salesman, and it was just the opposite.
So what's up? This is Chad. I'm here in Manhattan, really excited. I'm doing the Jim Norton show this morning on Sirius Radio. I'm a huge Jim Norton fan. He's a fellow metalhead. Like a lightning bolt, this massive light would go off in the room.
No shit.
Yes, and he's like, I can do this on call. And in fact,
Dan is hooked.
I'm on board. That's all it took. No, but I mean, I am close enough to the edge there.
Because
Like,
when he was a kid, he would say that, but instead of light, it would be genitals.
Now, when you say a light would illuminate the room, would it be like it would just get brighter?
Just like this giant flash that fills up everything with white light and then stops.
So what's up? This is Chad. I just finished the Sirius radio interview with Jim Norton and Sam Roberts. As a fan of the show and a fan of Jim, it's really cool. So thanks, guys.
I wouldn't even call myself a believer.
Okay.
I'm a knower. I know this
You know it,
stuff.
okay.
I know this stuff.
So you go in there, and what did you start to see?
Well, he captured a full body apparition.
And so he has no face?
It has a contour, but no definition.
You have some insight that most people don't get experience to know about. What does it do to you from your perspective as you walk around the planet and just see certain things? Does it change your outlook on life? What does it do to you? Because I gotta imagine experiencing that, you just don't wake up in the morning thinking everything's normal.
It was like the rabbit hole in Alice in Wonderland. It opened up and it swallowed me.
Wow.
And the more I learn, the deeper I go, the more questions.
I was touched by something in my life 20-some-odd years ago at the Fox Theater in Atlanta. Something physically put their hands on me and pushed me forward that I had to catch my feet.
When you said that thing about so many people say I've had this experience, I had one. I think part of the thing is so much of paranormal activities presented in movies, you assume there's a negative connotation, as opposed to the idea that, yeah, there's spirits or whatever you want to call them around, and they're there, and we're here, and occasionally the doors open and you can see where they are and they can see you maybe.
And you'll see that in Sir No Face too. Sir No Face is not a violent ghost in any capacity, and no one ever felt violence out there on the island.
That's fascinating. So this shows you're getting great response, I gotta think.
I'm a registered nurse and I believe in science. I love science, but I also believe that there's something more. I'm just so happy that tonight we had proof of that. I got to see it with everyone else, that there is something else out there. I believe what I saw was real.
The film was awesome. Finally like seeing somebody who's documenting some real stuff. Guy was relentless on giving them hell, and it just, hey, it is what it is, and people need to realize that they exist, and we're among them, and they're among us, and hey man, love it.
So what struck me after watching the film was the authenticity, which not only the way that the investigation was done, but also the people that were conducting it. It just seemed to come out very authentic and very real. And also, this was officially sanctioned initially by the Australian government. And that, to me, says something very, very important about the importance of this film. And the fact that the Australian government reaction to that was to shut down further investigation. There's no real reason to do that unless there is something really there. Unless there is something really there. Unless there is something really there.
Let's see, total, there was probably 60 to 70 tour dates we did. There was only 2 attendees that tried to take me on nose to nose and try to make me look like I was just trying to use this footage as marketing. Which, by the way, I want to say this. That was one question everyone says is this a marketing ploy, coming out and saying that I have footage that proves the existence of ghosts? And the answer was no and yes. I mean, obviously that's a great marketing line. Who's going to hear that and not want to go see the footage? But that doesn't mean it wasn't true. I firmly believed every word I said. But I'll tell you what I did not expect. And it happened night after night, over and over again. There was a massive percentage of people, from both attendees and the press, that thought Sir No Face was a straight-up alien gray. They thought we got it wrong. They thought Craig and his team filmed a gray. In fact, so much so that towards our shows to the end, because we knew it would be the first thing that was said, we would address it right away. And we'd even do this thing where I would stop and say, I know what everybody in the audience is thinking. Sir No Face is not a ghost. It's and I would kind of put my hands out like, it's an, you answer. And the room would go in unison. Aliens.
I never saw somebody come up to me and they said, you made a mistake. No Face is not a ghost. It's an alien.
The first time I actually heard anyone say to me that the Sir No Face apparition could be an alien was Nikki, believe it or not. Not long after I had discovered the footage on review, and we just kept watching it over and over, we had a bit of a chuckle when she said, "Oh, it kind of looks like an alien." I'd never really thought about it again until I was on tour as we travelled across the US to show the Sir No Face documentary. It wasn't until then that I actually had someone say to me in the Q&A that they didn't think what we had captured on film was a ghost. I remember thinking to myself at the time, it's like, okay, here we go, finally someone's going to stand up and call me a fraud or a fake or something like that. But when this person stood up, they actually said, what you have captured is not a ghost. It's an alien. And it kind of set me back a little bit because I was waiting for something totally different to come out of their mouths. But that was the first time since Nikki had mentioned it all those years prior that I had heard someone say that they thought it was an alien. But after that, it just kept getting mentioned more and more. More and more people were saying, we think it's an alien.
So I kind of got the idea, shit, that face looks almost as if it was an alien.
Is it an alien?
I thought it was an alien too.
The whole alien thing is very interesting to me because the way it looked, the lights and the energy.
I definitely believe that it was an alien.
Alien! Well, I thought with the film, I thought it was an alien.
Why not extraterrestrials?
What?
So,
No, it will not. What? No.
It looks like an alien.
No! That is scary as all crap.
Yeah, what the hell? It looks like an alien. It looks like an alien. It looks like an alien. It looks like an alien.
So when I announced that we were considering, taking another look at the case, with the possibility of an extraterrestrial element, so many people from the live shows were like, dude, you made fun of that idea. You laughed about it, you joked about it, and I did, and I would want this addressed too. When this was brought up, you have to understand, there's a lot the audience didn't know that had happened in the realm of ufology and was still happening that I honestly found to be frightening. And I did not want to go down that road, and anybody who knows me knows that whenever I'm freaked out, I've always used laughter as a defense mechanism for fear. And there were some really weird things going on that nobody knew about at that time that directly related to the potential of an alien presence, a government conspiracy presence. That happened literally right at the onset of us even talking about Sir No Face and turning, Craig's story into a documentary. That's how quickly the weirdness began. That was related directly to the potential of Sir No Face being the grave. Sir No Face being the grave. Sir No Face being the grave. Of Sir No Face being the grave.
The tattooed face man, holy shit. Chad and the crew were here promoting the film The Blood Red Sky at the time, and our travels ended up taking us to Townsville, tropical North Queensland, and it was a stinking fucking hot day there. The worst thing about it was, I remember, is that the event that night was actually taking place outside. It was an outside venue. I remember at the event sitting towards the back where the merchandise table was, and Chad and Justin were at the front. They were conducting a presentation when I noticed out of the corner of my eye a gentleman all in black, wearing like a black Kubra hat, cowboy hat, whatever you want to call it, walk into the venue, and he made a beeline straight for the table where I was sitting. And he looked me in the eye and he told me that he needed to speak to Chad. I said, he's in the middle of a presentation at the moment. I said, you won't be able to see him just yet, but at some point later on, he'll have a break and you'll be able to chat with him then. What you will never ever experience from my behalf I've never felt the energy of a location change as rapidly and as quickly as when this guy entered the venue. There was just something about this guy that didn't seem right, and I had to fight. I've got goosebumps now thinking about it, but every fibre of my being was on high alert. And I thought, man, is this the night where shit is going to go down at a venue? So he took a seat towards the back and he just sat there and listened. I could not avert my gaze from this guy. I was constantly watching him. Chad had finished his presentation and I saw this gentleman get up and he was carrying like a plastic type folder with him, and it was under his arm, and he headed straight for Chad. And as soon as he did that, my instincts kicked in to actually follow this guy, because I didn't know who he was, I didn't know what he was about, I didn't know what his intentions were. I honestly thought that shit was going to go down, like something violent could happen. As he's walking towards Chad, Chad looked over, he saw me behind him following, and I knew at that moment that Chad knew that I was there in case something was going to go down big time.
There's a way a man walks when he has a purpose, and he was splitting the crowd, I mean like a knife through butter, I mean just coming, and I immediately went to high alert because he has a package in his hand, and I don't know what the fuck it is, and right as he gets a few feet away from me, he slowly lifts his head, and I see this tattoo on his face, and I immediately recognize it as the tattoo of Amun-Ra. I don't know if you guys know this or not, but I was a religious studies minor in college, and one of my favorite things to study was Egyptian theology. So I see this, and I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool, you know, the universal son of the sun god, the supreme deity of the Theban supremacy. So to be honest, I expected a pretty weird conversation to happen, and it was a conversation that I could have never imagined. He handed me this plastic box, and he says that he was giving it to me because nobody knew his connection to me, and that it was his insurance policy. And the weird thing was, you know, 99% of everybody that comes to a show or a presentation are usually just people interested in the magic of the universe. But, you know, you get strange people sometimes, and they're usually very easy to point out as kind of off. This gentleman was not crazy. He looked me dead in the eye, the way a man looks at a man when he's dead serious about something. I looked at his pupils. They were not dilated. He did not appear in any way to be intoxicated or under any kind of substance whatsoever. If I could use a word to describe his overall presence, I would say he seemed scared. At the very end of it, I boldly asked him if this is a plan to try to get a TV show, because I've been on television shows, and I'm not an agent. I don't shop shows for people. I don't do that stuff. And he said, not only do I not want a TV show, I won't accept a TV show. I don't want money. I want to remain anonymous. He said, I simply want you to have this package. He goes, if you think I'm crazy, after you read it all, throw it away. Trust me, you'll never hear from me again. And that quickly, he said, thank you for your time, Mr. Kalick, shook my hand, and walked out. Now, if what he's saying is true, I'm holding something that could put my life in danger. At that time, I did not have the time to source through and look at what was in the package and all this stuff. There was just a shitload of writing on it, tons of pictures, a video, must have been 200 documents. So I finished the event. I went home that night, looked through it all, and was blown away. All right, this is Chad here, looking over the absolute fucking insanity of what is in this package. I don't even know what to think of this shit. Wow. There were these incredible photos of UFOs. Incredible photos of UFO. Incredible photos of UFO. Incredible photos of incredible photos of UFOs, incredible photos of UFOs, incredible photos, incredible photos of incredible photos of UFOs, incredible photos of UFOs, incredible photos of human bodies that had been mutilated. There were
ABC Mouse is amazing. It's everything that you would want to teach your child in a fun way.
From language to math, it makes learning an adventure. Man, she's going to be so ready when she hits that classroom.
It's not just a random jumble of activities. There is a structured curriculum, and now he's learning to read.
There's nothing better than to be able to give your child a head start. We're very, very proud.
Cleopatra was the most powerful woman in Egypt. But no one likes a diva, hun. Watching Prime Video, she realised rulers could give back. So she ordered some gifts with Prime. After that, it was more of a one team, one dream kind of vibe. Couldn't give up all the gold, though. Prime changed everything.
Yours is a front yard family, because that's where all the neighborhood is. So you stay out front. We'll stay real brewed, and the world will be colder because of it. Gold Peak Real Brewed Tea. Stay cold.
I should be furious right now. My neighbors let their dog out again, and I'm left dealing with this. Now it's doctor appointments and dealing with the insurance companies. I should be furious, but Goldberg and Osborne takes you under its wing. They handle it all, finding doctors, managing medical bills, and getting the most money possible. It'll be easy. I just call 1-800-THE-EAGLE and get a free case review. I should be furious, but I've got Goldberg and Osborne.
After any accident, go with Goldberg and Osborne. 1-800-THE-EAGLE.
From had to buy every shade, Rashida?
That's it. Tiny baby dolphin.
To really remote resort, Rashida.
Not remote enough, apparently.
The new City Custom Cash Card is different. It automatically adjusts so you can earn cash back where your spending is trending.
Were medical records, hacked email, diary entries, maps of secret bases. There was correspondence with the Mexican president. There were photos of human bodies that had been mutilated, reportedly in a UFO attack. There was just so much information, and it all looked extremely authentic. And the more and more I looked through it all, the more and more it terrified me. So that night, I closed it up and said, fuck this, I'm going to bed, because the following day, there was a plan to go up north and see the Great Barrier Reef, which I was so excited about. And I just didn't want this thing in my mind. I'm not looking to take on, whatever powers may be that stabbed or shot this guy. But I woke up the next morning, and my wheels are spinning, start looking at a few more pictures, start digging deeper into it, and go, what the fuck am I doing? I stop, and I just leave it on the table, leave, and we take off to the Great Barrier Reef. And I was so angry at this guy because the Great Barrier Reef is unbelievable. The whole trip was unbelievable, and that's all I wanted to focus on. But there were so many times where this just popped in my head, and I couldn't stop thinking about it. I shared this information with Justin and Thomas and everybody there, and we all talked about it, and we're like, interesting. But at this point, I don't really know the story of what is contained, right? So we get back to our hotel. We're leaving the following day, and I just decided I don't want anything to do with this. This is a rabbit hole that I don't want to fucking fall in. So I throw it away, and I go to bed.
The trilogy. I wonder if those things start flying tonight, I'm assuming they do. But they're fruit bats, I think. Not, vampire bats. So I think we're safe.
I get up the next morning, pack my stuff, get all the way to the elevator, go all the way downstairs, and right as I see our van pull up to take us to the airport, I run back upstairs, get in the trash, grab the package. I flew all the way home, locked it away, and thought to myself, I'm just going to give this some time and see if anything weird happens, thinking that nothing weird will happen. And then something very weird happened with Craig.
Nick's out with these. I was taking him to a birthday party. Yeah. And there was a knock on the front door, and I've had a look. There's a couple of guys out the window. I automatically just thought they were from the church or, doing door knocks. So I've opened the door, and they actually addressed me by name. They said, "Oh, Craig, you're home." I said, "Do I know you?" He said, No, we haven't met." He's gone, "But we've heard about the movie coming out, the film." I said, "You're talking about Cerno Face?" And they're like, yeah, that's the one. And these guys had smiles on their faces, and they said, "That movie's not going to happen." I said, "What are you talking about?" They just said, "We're just here to let you know that film's not going to happen." And I said, "Well, mate, I'm not making the film." And they said, "No, we know who's making it. We're just here to say it's not happening." I said, "What the fuck are you doing at my house?" They just said, "Look, the film's not going ahead, and we hope we don't see you again." And they turned around and they walked back up the driveway.
Yeah, that pisses me off.
I got really angry. Hey, I'm thinking, who the fuck is trying to fucking threaten me? So I went and I grabbed my phone. So I thought, fuck you, I'm going to take some video or take some photos. But by the time I grabbed my phone and I walked myself up along our driveway, they were nowhere to be seen on the street. So I don't know whether they hopped in a car and left or what. And they had a smile on their face, brother. It never changed. If someone was looking from afar, you'd think we were having a nice, friendly conversation. The smiles on their face never changed the whole time. Now, dude, I'm a big guy, and I'm not really intimidated by much, brother. There's not much that can intimidate me, but yeah, I've never felt so fucking intimidated in my life. I'm fucking pissed. Right. Yeah.
I understand why it would be so important. Unless whatever's out there is just fucking the holy grail that we think it is. The holy grail that we think it is. The holy grail that we think it is.
So I'm just sitting out the front of the location where I had a visitation before the release of the Cerno Face documentary. They were just normal looking dudes. One was wearing jeans, dark coloured jeans, the other one was in a pair of pants, and they both had button up shirts on. From the time I opened the door to interact with these gentlemen, they both had smiles on their faces. And as that conversation went on, I slowly started to realise I was being threatened. It's quite a long driveway, and by the time I basically told these guys to take a hike, I was pretty angry at that stage, so I grabbed my phone, I turned around in the space of 10 seconds. These guys were gone, they were nowhere to be seen. And I ran to the top of the driveway, they were gone. No cars had driven off, these guys had just disappeared. They had vanished, they were nowhere. Okay, so here I am. This is the driveway just here. You can see the roof of the house just down there. This is what we call a battle axe driveway, so the house itself is actually down the end of this driveway. Now, I don't live here anymore, so I'm not going to go down too far, but this is just to give you some idea on the distance that these guys would have had to have travelled in a really short space of time. Now, you can see the street itself. Just pan around so you can see it. I'm assuming they would have had to have parked their car up here somewhere, because it wasn't in the driveway. What I want you to have a look at as well is actually the angle of this driveway. If I go down a little bit further, my phone, you can actually see that the driveway is on a 9-degree slope. So it's actually sloping upwards at a 9-degree angle. So it's a pretty steep driveway. Now it's also a long driveway too. So I just did a really quick measurement from the top of the driveway where I am to the bottom of the driveway. It's around about 24-25 metres. You're looking at well over 75 feet. That's a hell of a long distance. You could probably add a couple of extra metres onto that as well. So it's going to be really interesting to see how far someone can get just walking at a casual pace, which I saw them leave at, in the space of around about 10 seconds. Alrighty, so what we're going to do now, what I want to see is actually how far someone can get just walking at a normal pace in around about 10 seconds. Now 10 seconds is roughly, from memory, how long it took for me to actually close the front door, turn around to where we kept our phones and wallets and stuff, to actually get back to the front door to open it up. So what I've actually done is I've actually put down a marker down our driveway where we're living now. I don't know if you can see that little flashing light down there. From where that flashing light is to where Rocco and Diesel are standing at the moment, it's about 24.5 metres. And you've got to remember as well, in doing this, that driveway was on a 9-degree angle, slope upwards. So it's going to be a little bit different to what it is here. But it'll give us a fairly good indication of how long it would take someone to actually walk that distance. So we'll see now. You ready to go, boys? So we'll go in 3, 2, 1, go. Just at a normal pace. Okay, stop there. So that was 10 seconds. And as you can see, not even halfway. And you've got to remember as well, when you get to the top of the driveway where we used to live, you've got to feel a view of about 50 metres up and down the road as well. So you can see quite a long way once you get up the top there. Now, there wasn't a car parked in the driveway. I didn't hear a car leave. But that just gives you sort of an indication on why I'm a bit perplexed as to how these guys got away so quick.
When I received the phone call from Craig about this incident, it was crazy because Craig is such a tough guy and a strong guy, and I've just never heard fear in his voice before.
I've never felt so fucking intimidated in my life. I've never felt so fucking intimidated in my life. I've never felt so fucking intimidated in my life.
It was shocking, and I know what you may be thinking. Is this a story that Craig could have made up? And to that I say, listen, I spent almost 2 years of my life trying to catch this man in Lies with Sir No Face and failed miserably. I've gotten to know Craig very well over the last few years, and I can tell you this right now, Craig's an honest man. If he says this happened, it happened. It happened. It happened. It happened. As I mentioned earlier, with the Sir No Face case, there was a lot of things that weren't included in the Sir No Face documentary. The more and more I considered the alien gray possibilities, these details that you guys didn't know because they weren't in Sir No Face, they just stayed with me and I couldn't get them out of my head. Starting with the fact, when the Australian government called WSPR, they offered them money. They wanted to pay them to ghost hunt. Now, maybe that doesn't seem like a big deal to you or not, but think about this. The government sanctions a paranormal investigation that any ghost hunting team on planet Earth would cut off their arm to get the chance to ghost hunt. And right away, the Aussie government wants them to do this so badly that they're offering them cash immediately. Which sounds to me like they wanted to ensure that Craig and his team showed up on that island.
We don't get paid for what we do when we investigate. It's very much shunned upon in the paranormal world, anyone that makes money in regards to the paranormal. We always say that we're the most underpaid specialists in the world. So I guess you can imagine our surprise and delight in being offered some money to investigate Cockatoo Island. So when we started our investigations with them, we were told that we would be reimbursed for our time in not only conducting the investigations but purchasing of equipment and also hosting, planning and putting together the ghost tours that they wanted to run in conjunction with us out on Cockatoo Island. We've been busting our backsides off for decades, was finally going to come back to help us out. It was really, really exciting.
Another thing you don't know is that the government, the Australian government, they shut down the island the day after our event. The day after Craig brings a filmmaker to Cockatoo Island that holds a successful event and shows this footage of this entity that Craig captures on film, the following day, they shut everything down.
When we were told that they were no longer interested in paranormal events on the island, we had shown them a complete package of what we had captured out there. And not long after that, obviously my invoice was sent for time rendered and the equipment that was purchased. But they came back to me with, you were just there to help us consult and the payment was never a deal, etc., etc. Hence the fact that we were never paid. We were never paid. We were never paid at all.
The second detail that I shared at live events, but it wasn't in Sir No Face, is that several members of Craig's team experienced time loss. And they're like, holy shit.
The more we do with our phones, the more network quality matters. Only Verizon has been the most awarded for network quality. That means the best experience with calls, texts, and data usage of any major carrier, according to customers.
Strawberries, blueberries, and the cherry on top. Fairlife, with 50% more protein, 50% less sugar, and a creamy taste, turns scrumptious into scrumptious. Fairlife, ultra-filtered milk.
Alexa, play our favorite song.
Okay.
You're listening to the smooth sounds of 90.5 FM, WJZBCW, on Live 365, an iHeartRadio station. Tune in to the Rob G Afternoon Drive Show. Hey, this is your girl Cotton, and this is what I listen to. WGS JBC Live 365.
Oxygen's 911 Crisis Center. New episodes tonight at 9.
Cleopatra was the most powerful woman in Egypt. But no one likes a diva, hun. Watching Prime Video, she realised rulers could give back. So she ordered some gifts with Prime. After that, it was more of a one team, one dream kind of vibe. Couldn't give up all the gold, though. Prime changed everything.
Behind me is building number 10, which in its heyday was predominantly used for ship design and the ship repairs. We were scheduled to investigate this building on Saturday the 22nd of February. As it turns out, that was a week after we unknowingly captured the Sir No Face footage. Myself, Richie and another team member entered building number 10 from the north entrance. Not long after we walked in, we logged the time so we know when we entered.
First and second.
Hang on, let me have a look.
We located first and second. I would call that the main access. The access that I call the main access would be the emergency access. So one of these two just sounded off
while we were talking.
Yeah.
Well, that's really interesting. It's just after 11 o'clock at night, so we haven't been in here long, probably about 10-15 minutes.
Yep.
By the time the security guard left us.
We've had a little bit of trouble with some of, the mel meter, one of the mels.
That's exactly right.
Temperature's just not reading. We've turned it on and off a million times, and thought, okay, just leave it. And off we started to go down the hall towards a fairly large staircase. When we reached the top of the staircase, I actually said to the guys, "Oh, hang on, what's the time?" Because from the time we entered to the time we sort of, made our way on to the other areas in the building, we needed to kind of keep track of the time. Just want to just do a quick time check, guys. It's just... Is that 12 o'clock? We couldn't have lost an hour. Hey? I'm just looking at my watch. I swear to God it says it's after 12. We could not have been here an hour. No way. I have no idea what happened. When we checked the footage, we went back to see how long we'd been filming for, to double check the times that we had on my watch, and we were filming for 9 minutes, which ties in with our usual routine, with what we knew we'd done, with what the logic said that we would do. But yet here we were, the next time we checked our times, we were missing an hour.
Historically speaking, time loss doesn't occur in paranormal cases or hauntings. Time loss occurs in extraterrestrial contactee cases. This has been reported forever by people who say they were abducted or contacted by extraterrestrial beings. Everybody on Craig's team also claimed to have this immense personal connection.
We got so emotionally involved in this place, and I don't know why. These things, these entities, these spirits are crying out for someone to listen to the story.
No, nothing like that. No, nothing
Shoot
like
that plane. Shoot that plane. So, essentially when you say that I feel like I had a connection, you're talking about like you feel like you met a spirit out there and you formed a bond of some kind. Okay. You do understand this sounds fucking crazy.
To everybody else, I don't really care. I know.
Like the average person watching this would just go... Which the reason I point that out is because I've hung out with you for a little bit. I mean, you seem like the most normal guy in the world, but I think it's important to kind of establish that you guys have this connection. Do you think about Sir often?
All the times, yeah.
Wow.
Lots of times, yeah.
Now, there have been some paranormal cases where, a person thinks they see a ghost of their mother or their father or a family member, and they, of course, have an immense connection, but that comes from their time when they were alive. I don't think I've ever read a paranormal case where someone had such an immense connection that they would get teary-eyed and depressed and sad if they couldn't visit them. There are some cases in the incubus, succubus, where people claim to have a haunted connection, an emotional connection, but that involves sexual activity too, and that's usually, again, something much deeper. But what's interesting, in alien contactee cases, it is reported that there is an immense connection to the extraterrestrial being. Some people claim that they feel like they have a family connection to this being, the gray, the alien. So these things stuck in my head because they all seem to have some sort of connection to an extraterrestrial case. And the last thing that never made sense to me, why 2 years? Why 2 years? Why that long? They were willing to pay them for 2 years?